About a club that Johnny knows very well, Manchester United, and a year in charge for Ruben Amorim. I want to talk about your experience as well of playing under Ruben Amorim, because you started his first game in charge against Ipswich in a back three. Was it very clear from the outset this was the way they were going to play and there was going to be no change to that?
I mean, he's been exactly like the same in the press. You know, he says what's on his mind, and you know, from the moment he came into the club, he was very clear on how he wanted to play, the system he wanted to play, and he laid that out for the players and showed us. We were on an international break at the time, actually, when he came in. So he sat down with the squad, showed us. There's obviously a lot of players away missing. As soon as they come back, he sat them down, showed them, we were all together. So he's been pretty clear on that, and he hasn't wavered.
You got some questions around the way it looked from the start?
Yeah, I mean, we analysed the first game at Ipswich. You were in that team, and it's just a few little questions around some of the clips. You know, namely the 2 goals and a pressing clip we have. But you're in the position here where you're the left-sided centre-back in the 3. I just want to ask you a little question about the position of De Ligt. Now, it feels like this is something he did at Sporting Lisbon. I think it was with Sebastian Coates, who I played with at Liverpool. But the centre-back always seems to pop in here to midfield. It doesn't happen as much right now. Was there any instruction on the reason why that player goes in there? Did you ever play central and have to go in that position yourself?
I played in the centre, a few of the sort of end of season friendlies that we played in, but more often than not, it's almost to give the keeper space. You don't want to be sort of stood on the keeper's toes and you're sort of 3 at the back. Some managers or coaches will swing their back 5, or they'll push a wing back high. One of the right centre back might go at the right back position. The middle centre back will go to the side. Whereas he's quite he likes to keep the structure of his team. You know, not too much, you know, moving parts. So you like to keep his middle centre back.
So is it not that complicated? It is basically he's trying to create a back 4. And as you say, we spoke about Pereira at Wolves. We highlighted that last season, what he was doing, where actually the centre backs would stay in there, but the wing back would go really high, and one of the wide centre backs would go into right back. He just does that a different way, and he's trying to create a back 4 to build up. Well,
instead of your whole back 5 sliding one way, he'll just move one player and move him forward a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's right from the start. This then does lead to the goal. So, what a start it was.
Johnny with the pre-assist.
Yeah.
It all started from the back.
Was this a pattern of play that you worked on these first
We didn't
few
have
days?
much time, like I mentioned before. It was in the middle of an international break when he came in, so probably the majority of the players didn't meet up till probably the Thursday, and we played. It was a Sunday match, so we only really had a couple of days working on it, but
this is something we highlighted, not just about Manchester United, but every team that plays this system. The space to go up against that is the spaces here either side of the 2 central midfield players. We've just got you highlighted here because you're one of the wide centre-backs and you've got a decision to make there. Do you jump out? Do you stay? And you see you're caught in 2 mans. Any instructions from the manager, or you just playing your natural game in that system?
I think the manager wanted us to maybe jump in from maybe a little bit earlier when we were pressing. That hasn't, obviously it was a new system, so we're probably just getting a little bit used to it at the time. I've played left side in a back 3 many times in my career, but I think probably once or twice on the press he was wanting us to maybe be a bit more aggressive on it.
But it just looks like you're being really aggressive. Would that be your natural game, or was that instructions from the manager?
No, I think naturally you'd want to always jump in and press as a defender, and no one having played in a back 3 before, people always say you've got the spare man, so you want to be the one jumping in and sort of helping the midfielders out, because like you mentioned before, the 2 guys in midfield, I know they're not flat at this moment in time, one's deeper than the other, but the space is sometimes quite big.
So something that I think for every team who play this system, sometimes it's difficult to be really aggressive and press and push the opposition back, and it's really important that the centre-backs do jump. We've seen that in the last few weeks, especially from Luke Shaw, but it was really apparent in this first game. And I was just watching you here, and you've got the sort of you're looking at the manager, and as this ball goes back, it looks like someone really trying to impress the manager. You look at him again and you keep changing, and I'm thinking, is Johnny getting ready for Monday Night Football or Strictly Come Dancing? I mean, that looks like somebody who's trying to impress the gaffer there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, of course. But I think from this one, that was just probably a natural. Maybe I was looking over to think, am I doing the right thing here? But I think naturally, like I said, that position that we find yourself in there, that is really aggressive for a centre back to be that high
in that position there. So again, would that be like, okay, this is what the manager wants? Would he be happy with that? Because one of the, not frustrations, definitely not a frustration, one of the criticisms probably I've had watching United in that system is at times where they are a flat five and they can't get out to get pressure on the ball, and the two midfielders are almost left there just having to cover a huge amount of space.
I think when it's really high on the pitch, I don't think it matters what formation you're playing. At the end, you almost go man for man anyway.
Yeah.
So I think in the five in that situation, I'm just seeing the guys in front. I'm going to go in tight with them. Whether or not you're in a 4 or 5, I don't think it matters. But like you said there, when you get pinned back in a 5, that probably happens a little bit more deeper on the pitch, maybe mid-block, and certainly towards the edge of your own box.
Obviously, you're with him for the start, and then through the rest of his sort of first half season in charge, if you like. We talk a lot about the system. Jamie talks a lot about the system, as does everybody.
Yeah.
Does he coach that system and the way that it operates a lot?
Yeah, I mean, he's quite structured in his training sessions in terms of the way he wants you to play, and most of the time, a lot of his sessions will be done in the shape. You know, and I think he's quite clever in the fact that he won't just put a session on just for the sake of it. A lot of it will be done in terms around structure, build up, how you want to defend, and he'll use those sessions. Obviously, last season, I was injured for quite a lot towards the end, but there was also a lot of games. So in terms of the training sessions, he will see that this season, with not being in Europe, as a chance to really drive those things home.
You're going to get the counters out, Jamie.
Yeah,
see how
we
it
just
actually
want
works.
to look at and put the system out. We've done this a lot with Manchester United because, as I say, they're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We analysed them, we watched them so much. But we're going to look at the team that played at the weekend. And when I look at this team, I actually probably look at that and think, that is Manchester United's best team. I don't think there's anyone really missing who would maybe come into that. So, again, we go back to the first game, your experience with the manager. So, your experience plus your own idea on how this play. What are the positives of this system under Ruben Amorim, and what are the negatives for you?
Well, I mentioned earlier about there's not too many moving parts, so you're quite set in your shape. So, in terms of when they're defending, they'll be defending in a low block. You'll have most teams end up with maybe 5 at the back along the edge of your box defending, because you might have runners. So are you
classing that as a negative in that that this system can push you back?
No, I'm saying that when you are under attack and you are on the edge of your box, more than likely you will be in a 5. So the team's almost set to how they would defend on the edge of the box. On the other side, when you attack, when you push the wing backs up, when you're attacking, you'll have 5 on their last line, almost without having to move too much. Do you think
that's what he likes about the system? Because you can get almost 5 attacking players, even plus Bruno, into it.
I don't know if that's personal, but I'm just saying that I don't know if that's what he likes. But for me, sort of watching and playing a little part in it, if I was playing in a 5, I would say that's probably the benefits of it, that you can have 5 on the last line and also defend with 5.
I think what you're talking about as well, we see a lot of teams get 5 on the last line. Everybody does, and that's the way, and it's just different systems can get you that. I think the problem with this system is that when you think about wing backs, and think about the weekend, Ahmad, he's been getting questioned, he got caught out at the back post. But as a wing back, you're asked to be a full back defensively. So Ahmad's has to be here and defend crosses at the back post. He got done by Gibbs White. But then when he gets up here, he's asked to be a winger. Now, he is more of a winger. He's probably more suited to that position. But then Dallow's the opposite, where he may be able to deal with that better. But when he gets on the last line and they actually get the ball to Dallow, he can't beat a man. He's not going to play a clever pass. He's not going to get a cross in. So for me, that's a little bit of the downfall in terms of getting 5 on the last line, is whether these players have the quality. When you think of the other teams in the league, they'll still get the same numbers. But if that's Manchester City, that's Doku with the ball. It might be Phil Foden. So it's a completely different profile.
Well, then it's about the personnel within the system. Then it's a bit like you were talking before from the Ipswich game with De Ligt. Does he really want to go ways back to play as a centre back from the goalkeeper? So it's about the personnel then in that system, and you can talk about Ahmad getting done at the back post, but he might be back in that position anyway as a winger, filling in if you were playing 4.
Johnny, could I ask you then, I'm just thinking about the fact that you've been as a young player coming through Manchester United, you know the traditions of the club as well as anybody. This system for me doesn't feel right for Manchester United, as in like the history of the club. I think of wingers, I'm talking about Dallow receiving the ball in this position. That's Ryan Giggs. That's going back even for that's George Best, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
How would you feel as a Manchester United man in terms of this system going forward for the club, and whether you think of the players you played alongside as well?
I think as long as it's working, I think certainly in terms of supporters, people involved with the club, people just want to see the club being successful, and if they feel that this can be the best way to do that, they'll 100% get behind it, and you can see that with the fans. Get behind the manager. I
mean, Manchester United are probably on one of the best runs they've been on with Ruben Amorim right now. I think it's 4 unbeaten. But what would success look like for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United this season?
Definitely think qualifying for Europe, but I think they'll be pushing for a Champions League. I think now that you're sort of looking at it, I think they probably feel like they maybe get a little sniff of that.
Do you still feel it's going to take more transfer windows to get the pieces that Ruben Amorim really needs to make this work?
I'm sure he's looking at it going, we'll sign well in the summer. I hope the club back me again, whether that's January, whether they can do that or not. But going into the summer for the next season,
how vital, sorry, Johnny, how vital is Bruno to all this, do you think?
People are questioning why Bruno's playing in a deeper role, but he's kind of in those inside positions, probably doesn't suit. They're probably like inverted wingers, aren't they, playing in those sort of 10 positions? I think here gives him a little bit more you miss his creativity, I suppose, towards the edge of the box, but the manager certainly gives him license that when the team get higher up, Casemiro in this team will sit and Bruno will be able to join the attack.
Bruno Fernandes plays there because he's probably the only central midfielder they've got. I know he's not a proper central midfielder. The only player who can get on the ball, get on the half-turn and feed these players between the lines. And that will take us to our next piece, Dave, after the break.
There is a theme. I like that. I like that. There is a link there.
Finished today in the company of Steve Bruce, and nobody better to talk to about Manchester United round and about than Steve. Played 416 games for Manchester United. You were captain for about half of those games, Steve?
Yeah, something like that. Was that long ago, Jim? I have to remind myself now and again.
Not at all. Not at all. Forest 2, Manchester United 2 at the weekend. And we all know where Manchester United have got to under 1 year, almost exactly, of this man, Ruben Amorim. 53 games, 21 wins, 13 draws, 19 losses. We know what happened last season. Finished 15th in the season, runners-up in the Europa League, and that one still hurts. And just before they played that game against Forest at the weekend, Amorim reflected on 1 year in charge.
Was a journey. It was a big journey. Was tough. Was really tough. Good moments, bad moments. I learned a lot. That is really important. I found out that even in my lower moments, I can stick with the things that I believe, and that is a good thing for anyone to understand that. Today, the answer is different from 3 weeks ago, so it's important to understand that. So it's one of the biggest honors of my life to be here, and I want to continue here for many years.
So 4 games undefeated, Steve, now, and that's helped, no doubt. But is this tanker beginning to turn under him?
Well, we sincerely hope so. I think all of us want him to do well. I think everybody likes him. We all like him. I think he is a really genuine guy. He's obviously got strong beliefs because the whole football world was craving. Why doesn't he change? And why doesn't he change his philosophy or the way he plays? He didn't. He stuck with it. And hopefully in the last month, just shows the last month has been signs. I honestly believe they've bought well this summer. I think the Cunha thing and Mbeumo up front and Seco up the top end of the pitch, they've bought well. For a long time, unfortunately, for me, Man U haven't bought well enough. These 2-3 have hit the ground running. They know what it's like to play. They're used to the Premier League, and I think that's important, apart from Sesko. But the other two have been here before and know what it's all about. We genuinely hope his last month has arguably been his most successful since he's been here in 12 months. Yeah. He put a lot in the Europa Cup. He sacrificed the league a little bit towards the end to put all his attention into the Europa Cup, and unfortunately got beaten by Spurs.
I know where your heart is, and I get it. You're hoping. Yeah. You're hoping that he can do it and be a success. But does it feel any different from the days of Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Rangnick, Ten Hag?
Well, I think in all of them guys, they're all very, very, very good managers in their own right, huh? And of course, who would have ever thought that You know, Man U are going to go 10 years before they've won a league since Sir Alex left. It's quite remarkable, really. However, Arsenal haven't won a league for 20 odd years now, isn't it? It does come in cycles. As I said, I think in the supporters, in themselves, in the stadium, in the ground, they've never got after him. In fact, I don't think they've ever got after any real manager. You know, talk about sit-ins and protests and all the rest of it. The Man U fans haven't done that in the stadium. They've got well behind him. They're still all behind him. We all want him to do well. There is signs in the last month that it's improving. Let's hope it stays that way. It's going to be difficult, but let's hope it stays that way.
I mean, you still maintain that the downfall started, Simon, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
I think the erosion of standards, I think the performance on the field, if you look at the results that Ollie got, they will tell a different story. But I think the seeding in of the lack of standards and the lack of discipline and the culture that Man United is a club that can be played for in a certain way, he will talk about it more eloquently than I ever could. But Man United comes with an expectation to win and an obligation to play in a certain way. I don't mean this buccaneering style that often is associated with them, because sometimes it wasn't always buccaneering, as people like to remember it in their mind's eye. But there was an inherent responsibility of Man United players to understand who they played for. And for a period of time, that responsibility seemed to have been lost. That attitude seems to have been...
Yeah, but comparatively, they were more successful under Solskjaer than they were under the others.
That's fine. That argument in terms of statistics at the beginning of the conversation, not the end of it. I believe that period in time, with the attitude and outlook and the laissez-faire sort of mentality that Ollie seemed to exhibit, I don't know him personally, so I can only speak from the outside and looking at it. My view is I think it was a bad appointment in the first instance. I don't think it seeded Man United in the right direction. And now you've got another guy in there, Ruben Amorim, that's followed after a variety of different people, that, to me, is very rare that a manager gets given the amount of time that he's been given. He's been seemingly able to say the most... He has said some ridiculous things. You know, you can't turn around and say some of the things he said about this is the worst Man United team ever. You can't turn around and say, I'm a young manager. You're the manager of Man United. You're old enough to be the manager of Man United. Don't start bringing your age into the equation. But Radcliffe came out 3 or 4 weeks ago, so he's here for 3 years.
Yeah. And to be fair to him, he made some big calls. Yeah. Which I like about him. A bit like Arteta. I mean, the Rashford situation and Garnacho situation, the boy Anthony, all of these ones, he's made a big call to say, he's gonna and got the ones he wants to get in. There's signs of a bit of recovery. And we all want, as I said, we all want him to do well, but
albeit they stank the place out against Grimsby 6 weeks ago. So it was very, very. But I think a vibrant Premier League needs a vibrant Man United. With all due respect to all the other teams in it, I think Man United have been the poster boys of the Premier League for a very long time. Even though the 12 years that they haven't won a Premier League title is a barren period, it's all as much. Many people talk about Man United losing as they do talk about Man City winning. Still,
yeah, absolutely.
We shall see. Steve Bruce, we thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I've really, really enjoyed it, especially sitting next to this man. Eloquent. I can be more eloquent than Simon. I've never thought that.
Your vocabulary this afternoon is going to be, it will surprise even you.
When Ruben Amorim walked into Old Trafford in November 2024, the air was thick with doubt and desperation. Manchester United had become a shadow of its former self, lost, inconsistent, and yearning for identity. 1 year later, Amorim has not yet delivered trophies, but he has delivered something the club has missed for years, a sense of direction. From his first emphatic 4-in-a-row home victory over Everton to becoming the first United manager since Sir Alex Ferguson to win 50 matches in charge, Amorim's impact has been clear. His tactical blueprint, a fearless, high-pressing 3-4-3, brought energy and discipline back to a team long haunted by chaos. Players speak of belief returning to the dressing room. Fans are finally starting to see a system that makes sense. Still, the journey hasn't been easy. United's 15th place league finish last season exposed their fragility, and inconsistency remains a stubborn enemy. Yet Amorim's calm under fire and refusal to abandon his philosophy hint at something brewing beneath the surface. Ruben Amorim's first year may not have delivered glory, but it has reignited hope. And for Manchester United, that might be the most important victory of all.